Hello, it's Kylie, Bertucci Stamping Up Demonstrator in Australia here with you, and we're going to be making a baby card today. But before I hear you say, but Kylie, I don't need any baby cards, I will be showing you how you can use the exact same layout, everything that I've done, to make a completely different card. Because that's the cool thing about once you have a layer, or a layout I should say, you'll be able to do it for any type of card really. So this is the gorgeous little, are you ready for cuteness? Cuteness overload. So adorable. So cute. Hello little one. So adorable. So this is a baby card that I've made for a demonstrator, Stampin' Up demonstrator, who's in my training program. She's had a beautiful baby girl, hence the pink. So cute. And baby's name is Willow. Isn't that a cute name? I just thought straight away, as soon as I heard the name Willow, and then I saw the gorgeous stamp set, the Fable Friends stamp set, it just made me think of, yeah, Wind in the Willow, all those sort of old fable stories. Isn't it a beautiful set? There's so many gorgeous ones on there. So I'll definitely be using that for other things. But I've used the sentiment and that gorgeous little bunny. And for the background, you can probably see those beautiful flowers. Well, I've used the Bloom and Grow, which is probably one of my absolute favorite, all-time favorite stamp sets that Stampin' Up has come out with. And don't let this stamp set deceive you, because I think it's even in the catalogue as well that the size is actually smaller than it appears. So it says here the images are 70%. So they're actually 30% bigger than what you see here. And I'll show you what I mean. So say for instance, this one here, you are simply wonderful, that sentiment. Look how big it actually is in real life. So a lot bigger than what it appears, even in the catalogue as well. It's upside down, but you get the picture. You get the drift. So that is a really, really beautiful set. Gorgeous blossoms, so many different ideas. Perfect for a wedding, forever starts today. Let's celebrate you. There's really versatile. So even for new stampers, and I think there's even, yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So you've got thank you, you've got an encouragement one, you've got a wedding one, you've got celebration, any event. So this is a really great first stamp set. If you haven't done card making before, I highly recommend getting something like this, because it covers so many different events and it has a lot of versatility in it as well. So that's a really good one. And even here, there's some of the smaller blooms. So you might say, well, it's not really masculine, but you could actually use some of these smaller elements and still make your card quite masculine despite using flowers. Like that one there would be perfect for a masculine card, just stamped a number of times. So highly recommend that one. So let's get into some crafting. I want to show you exactly what I've done on this card and how you can adapt it to make something completely different. You may not want to be doing baby cards, but you can use this exact same layout for something else. So let's jump on in. So the first thing I'm going to do is just tell you about my card templates. If you don't have them already, I will have the link below on my YouTube channel. Just click on the one where it says card templates. If you have any questions about it, please ask. But basically, these card templates are going to help you get your accurate measurements for your cards, and they also help you to work out what a good layout is. So they're almost like a card sketch, but in real life. They're also perfect for translating. So no matter what measurement or cardstock you use, whenever you watch one of my videos, you'll be able to see straight away exactly what measurements I've used. So it makes it really quick and simple and easy. We want quick, simple, easy. No math, no thinking, please. Just give me easy. So the card base measurement is gorgeous great. So when you have the card templates, you will understand this. I'm not telling you the color that we're using. This is the measurement size. If you don't have the cardstock, that's okay. You can just put on your little label that you put on your cards the color of the layer. So just have it mentioned, and then you can just look for the colored layer. You'll get used to the layers anyway. Eventually you'll be like, I don't even need the layers, because I'm like, I remember it. Poppy Parade's probably my most used layer, mainly because I love this sort of close to the edge. It's also great for doing the insert inside your card, so I use that quite often. So that's good for the insert. And then we have the Melon Mambo layer, and that's where we're going to be doing our stamping. So if you have those 3 layers, that is all you require for your measurements today. And then we're going to be doing the little sentiment here. The width of that is, of course, going to be the same as your Melon Mambo, so just get that same width. And then the height will just be where you eyeball, where the sentiment finishes and ends. You can just use your trimmer to cut that. So let's do some chopping. We'll get our beautiful new Stampin' Up! Trimmer. If you don't have the trimmer yet, why not? It is gorgeous, and you'll be able to get the blades. It comes with blades, of course, one of the blades, but you'll be able to get the replacement blades in January, just so that you know what's happening with that, because I had a customer go to the store and she's like, I can't find the blades, what's going on? But they will be available in January. And I've used this quite a lot, and yeah, I think that it will be fine. By the time January comes, you'll be fine. So let's do some chopping. Now, basically with the card template, you can do it widthways, but I like doing it in half, because your cardstock should always be cut in half. If you're doing a card, it should always be half. If you're not cutting half, then you're wasting a lot of cardstock. So just work out your measurement based on the card template. And then I'm going to do the Whisper White layer, and I'm going to do 2 of those Poppy Parade size, because I want one for the inside of my card as well. So I'll cut that down. In fact, while I'm there, I'll do some more, because I want to do another card for you so that you can see that you can have things quite versatile and you can mix things up. See how beautiful it cuts? It's so beautiful. So just remember, you can actually, I don't know if you can actually flip this, but just remember to just do up and down. Or I think I do remember someone saying that they like going in the one direction, so they just flip their trimmer blade around when this starts getting blunt on one side, which I think is a great idea, because I tend to go upwards. That is my movement of choice. You don't even have to lift this, actually, which is great. And cut. Brilliant. So we've got those layers. Now we'll do the top layer, which is going to be your Melon Mambo size. Deciding not to go in this time. So we'll do Melon Mambo. Get your measurement, whatever it is in your size and measurement type, and that side. Good. So I think we've done all our chopping. I like to have everything sort of cut, ready to go. I find that that's a lot easier when I'm about to create. It's like, all right, I've done all my cutting, and then I can start playing. It's like I've got everything sorted. Now with your little oval shapes here, I've already pre-cut mine, but I've used the layering oval framelit dies for those, and I basically just looked at what was going to be a nice size for framing my beautiful little rabbit here, and I got my rabbit out, and I just used the framelit as a guide of where I wanted it to sit nicely. I knew I wasn't going to have a sentiment at the bottom of the oval, but if you wanted to have, you know, a bigger one and then have the sentiment inside the oval, then you just use this as like a little template. And then once I had this one, then it was easy to sort of just connect with what oval framelit on the outside I wanted, because I wanted just a little bit of an element behind. But that's how I usually just gauge it. I use these as like a little template for me to follow. So they're all cut out. That's all done. So you need those two as well. And we'll put this aside so that we can do some stamping. Yay! It's always fun, isn't it? Stamping's so good. So cathartic and relaxing. So we've got our stamp set. I've got my bloom that I've decided, my ink I should say, my stamp. And I'm going to just get my bloom and basically just go around the outside, because we're going to be filling the middle part there. So you can be quite sporadic in where you put it. You can even come back in on the side here if there's a little bit of a space that's free. Come around here and just fill in as much as you would like, remembering that you're covering it anyway, so it's really not a big deal if you even if that looks a bit random. It's like, oh well, it's going to be covered anyway. In fact, I'll show you how much so that you can mix it up. You would never ever do this if this was regular stamping. You're like, oh my goodness, it's the biggest mistake. But when you get your stamp, it just changes how you start stamping, because see here, I can go, now I've got this little section here, if I wanted to have that sort of poking out up the top there. And you're not going to see that overlap at all. So just think in terms of that. Now, something else that's nice to do, and I didn't do it on this card, but I really like this technique, just to add a little bit of softness and even on the sentiment as well, is to use our sponge daubers. Grab a little bit of ink. I've got the Blushing Bride, and you can just flick around the edges here. And because Blushing Bride is quite a light colour, you're not going to get a huge amount of ink on here. It's not going to be super noticeable, but it just adds this beautiful softness to it. And it's just another texture, added texture to your card. It just, I don't know, I just think it makes it look more professional, more whimsical. I don't know, it's just a beautiful little element to add to your cards. And especially when you're going to be layering it on some Whisper White, you'll be thinking, I can't even see this. Like, what's the point? It doesn't add anything to it. But you wait till you layer it behind the Whisper White. And you can see here, it just makes that element pop. Like, you can see this just beautiful edging. And it sort of adds this gradient, like this softness to it that's really beautiful. So I highly recommend giving that a try. If you don't have the daubers, they're well worth getting, quite reasonably priced, and you basically can collect it so that you have every colour, which is always fun. We love to collect the set. And then I'll just stick that down because that's ready to go. So it's a very small layer behind the Whisper White, but I love that look where it's just this subtle look that really makes that colour pop out and draws attention still to that beautiful stamping. But if you added it directly to this colour, it would still look great, especially with the sponging. It's a great way to sort of do a standout layer, but it just adds that little bit of extra interest, and especially because we're going to be doing the white embossing, it kind of ties in the white embossing as well, which is nice. So I'll stick that down as well, and then we'll do our beautiful little rabbit. Okay. So I've got that layer all done, and I will actually just do it now while I've got my bloom out and the stamping before I close it all off. I'll just do a nice bloom here, and this is for the inside of the card. And the same thing for your envelope. You can just do a little bit of stamping, and it's just a beautiful addition to your card. I never used to do it, but it's so beautiful and barely takes any extra time. And then it feels like you don't have a naked card. Ooh, nudie. Nudie ready. It just, I just love it. I look at it now and I'm like, it just finishes it off so beautifully. And if you wanted to, you could even add another one there. If you like to write, you know, a nice quote or something like that, you could even add another element there, which is fun as well. So that's beautiful. It's already coming together so nice. But we're going to do our little bunny. Now I'm using Memento ink, and the reason why I'm using that is because we're going to be using the blends, and you always want the blends to be because the blends are alcohol based, you want to use a water based ink on the outside. If you used an alcohol based ink, what will happen is it will start bleeding and blending and taking that color away. So we don't want that. We want the color to stay just as it is. So I'm just eyeballing this about there. There we go, little one. Oh, look how cute it is. He is so adorable. Even though it's a she for this one. Now the colours that I've gone for are the light crumb cake and the light calypso coral, and surprisingly the light calypso coral goes really nicely with the blushing bride. So don't feel like if you don't have a specific colour that, oh, that's it, I can't use that colour. Some of the blends are really good in terms of matching other colours. Now I've just done a little bit of colour in the ear, and I'm going to use my colour lifter to blend that in. The colour lifter is a fantastic blends tool. Now I am not a professional colourer at all. In fact, I'm not an overly confident colourer, but the blends really do make you a professional, even if you're not. So here's the colour lifter here, and what it does is I'll just make sure that there's no colour there. It might look like that there's colour. You might sort of look and go, oh, it's going like a blue colour, but that's actually just the colour lifter soaking in. And what it does is it just sort of takes the edge off the colour and allows you to blend in that colour a bit as well. At first you're thinking, oh, it's not really doing much, but it really is, I promise you. You just got to stick at it and keep going, and you will see that colour change. And what it does is it just adds this depth of colour. It also allows you to create light and shade. And again, I am not a colorist, but you can see here it's got this beautiful gradient. It's just trial and error and just playing with it, and you'll feel a lot more confident the more that you do it. We'll do the same with the beautiful light, what is it? Crumb cake? Yes, light crumb cake. I'm just going to go into my colouring zen. I love colouring. As soon as I pick up colour and start colouring, I just, there's no cares in the world. Now what I did in this section here, I coloured in the belly, but I came back in with my blends and just coloured in that side, the side of the body a little bit, just so that when you keep colouring like this, it's actually layering the colour on top. This is the beauty of the alcohol-based blends. You couldn't do that with the watercolour blends because it would end up creating a hole. You don't end up with one big blob. But what it does is just really makes that section stand out. And then it looks like there's like a textural body there. You can even see it, even though it's far away. You can see that it's created those beautiful layers. It's just gorgeous. So that's a really cool thing to do. Another great little tip with the blends is adding the light smoky slate. You can actually add a little bit of shadow if you want to at the bottom and along the side. So because this little section here bled a little bit, I can just add a little bit of shading on the one side and then come in with my colour lifter again, just soften that edge so that it looks more natural and not as, the lines aren't as harsh then. We'll let that sort of sit for a bit and do its little thing. Just creates a little bit of, again, depth. I didn't do it on this one, but you can see the difference there in the look of the rubber. It just kind of makes this like 3D look, and you could probably even go all the way around if you wanted to, but I really like that. It sort of creates this depth of colour that wasn't there before. So there's some little tips and ideas for you. And then all I'm going to do is just stick that down on my pre-cut Blushing Bride oval scallop. And again, I use my multi-purpose glue so that I can do a little bit of a wiggle because I'm not very good at lining it up the first time. And then we'll stick that down using dimensionals on there. Actually, did I do dimensionals on this one? Yes, I did. Yep, dimensionals on the sentiment and that. So I have a clear matte case with my dimensionals in it. And I'll just grab a few of those. How many would Bruno use if it was Bruno? A lot more than me. He'd be like, remember, I've got to get the trip. I'm helping us earn the trip. Using as many dimensionals as I can. There we go. So I'm actually going to lift, because I've already pre-done the sentiment, because I know you're busy people. But I can actually gauge, when I've done the sentiment, I can gauge where I want this to sit so that I'm happy with the layout. So that's actually quite nice up there. So using your elements to basically direct you to where you want to go. And for this one here, I'm definitely going to do some sponging just to help this stand out a little bit around the whole layer. And remember, I've done it the same size as our top layer there. And I'll even do a little bit here, because on the Blushing Bride, the white emboss can be a little bit light. I didn't want to go for black. I really did want to do embossing, but that just helps that to stand out a little bit. You can even do it the whole way across if you wanted to. Totally up to you. But I definitely wanted to focus on that Darling Baby section. And that just helps it. You can see the difference here. It just helps it to stand out that little bit more than if it was without. It's just very subtle, but I think all those little subtle things do eventually make a difference. It's the difference between a well-made card and a thrown together card. And you can do either. Like, sometimes we're busy and we don't have time to be sponging and doing all the rest of it because we've got a lot of cards to make for some reason. But if we're wanting to sit and really enjoy the process and learn some new techniques, then it's a perfect thing to try. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. Hello, little one. So I really hope that that's helped you to learn some new techniques and ideas, particularly with this shading, the smoky slate, using your sponge daubers, and also being able to do your own background like this with a really subtle, beautiful look. It just adds so much gorgeousness. You could totally do Love It, Chop It as well if you wanted to put a really nice, subtle designer series paper in the background. But if you're wanting to do some stamping, then this is a great way to have that beautiful focal point of our little rabbit. Particularly when you have an image that's this size, you want it to be in a smaller space so that it gets the attention that it should get. If you stamped that directly onto a bigger image, it kind of gets a little bit lost in the card. So it's nice having a focal point that you can use for smaller images. But I just want to quickly show you how we can utilize this layout and do something a bit exciting. So, you know, again, you may not want to do a baby card, and that's fine. We may not know any friends that are having babies. So I'll just cut the same layer, but I'm actually going to do a smoky slate layer, and that's going to be the top layer that I'm stamping on, so that Melon Mambo size. Actually, I need to go a little bit smaller. I was doing the Poppy Parade size. No, we need the Melon Mambo size. So it's just that little bit smaller. I've already got the Whisper White pre-cut ready to go. Good. I love, love, love this combo together, having the Blushing Bride and Smoky Slate, and I've also got Basic Grey to go with it as well. So what I'm going to do is do some stamping with the beautiful flowers again. I just need to grab my Smoky Slate. That's the only ink I didn't get. Fantastic. Glad I have everything ready. Oh, sorry for bumping you. Bumped the table. So let's go here. So exactly the same thing, but we're doing it with the Smoky Slate. Don't get too fussy, just get in there and stamp away. I'll do a higher one this time. Beautiful. So that's our layer, top layer. But then what we'll do, oh yes, I'll do it in the Memento. So I've already pre-cut some ideas here. So I've got my exact same layer, but this time I've done the Basic Grey and we've got the same oval. And what I'm going to do, this is just totally, I did not try this. I'm like, let's just give this a whirl and see what it works out to look like. Yeah, I'll do it that side. So we'll do some flowers that side. And a little flower that side. I don't want to cover the whole thing because I do want there to be like a focal point of the two. And again, totally just winging it, but I think it's really nice to have that particular flower there and then to have like most of it there, and that's going to be great for our colouring as well. And I'm going to use the same Calypso, but I think we've got some of the Smoky Slate, and I think this is the dark Smoky Slate, yes. So I can just come in and do the same thing that I did with our beautiful little bunny. Just have a few colours and then soften it with the blend, the colour lifter. Again here. And we'll just see what this comes out like. Beautiful. Okay, so we can always come back. That's always the key to remember. It's like, don't stress too much, because if you want more colour, you can always do more colour, but you can't really do less. Beautiful. So I've softened that, and I might even come in a little bit more in the other spaces, because it doesn't necessarily move the ink, but just lightens it, which is what we want to make that calypso coral look. We want it to be a little bit lighter so that it matches the blushing bride a bit more. But by coming in with this next layer of colour, what this is going to do is create that light and shade like what we were talking about before, because some of it's going to be lighter and some will be darker. Okay, so we'll do that again. I'm going to do it over the whole thing. And so the ones that have already been done are going to get even lighter. Beautiful. That's so pretty. And then I'll just come in with a little bit of the smoky slate. I don't want it too dark. I think that the dark will be too dark, but this smoky slate is going to be absolutely perfect. And again, you can just leave little bits of white just so that it's not covered completely. Beautiful. So pretty. Really love that. I'll do even this little section here. I'm impressing myself. I love it when something like this just comes together. You're like, oh yes, this is good. In my mind, it was not even like this. It's better now in real life. And I've already done this one. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? So you can see it's the exact same design, exact same layout. All I changed was just the sentiment and the stamp that I used in that oval. And again, you could do absolutely anything you wanted in that oval. You could also do absolutely anything you wanted to in the background, and you can choose whatever sentiment you like. So this layout is going to open so many different ideas and beautiful things that you can do. I absolutely love that. And even if you wanted to, you could put like a little sentiment in here, take that away, bring this down, make it the focal point. Because it's quite small and this space is quite big, you could do a bigger oval if you wanted to. That's another idea. Or create this sort of focal point here in the background, which you could use ribbon and just do a really simple tiny little sentiment in there as well. So there's a lot of variety that you can do with just this one technique. Yeah, it opens up a lot of ideas. Can you tell? I'm like, I could do this, I could do that. But let's stick it all down so we can see what this beautiful card looks like all complete. We'll move you little darling out of the way and stick this down. So again, with my multi-purpose glue, so that I have a chance to wiggle it around. Nice. And then I'm going to use this one on the white, Whisper White. And I didn't do it on this one, but again, you can do that beautiful sponging with the smoky slate, but totally up to you. It looks gorgeous in the smoky slate, done with the sponging. And we're going to fold this one in half. Use your bone folder if you can. At first I was like, oh, I don't need to use a bone folder, but I know the difference in the quality of the card when you do use it. It just is a beautiful crisp fold. And we're going to glue that down. There we go. Wow. Beautiful. And then we've got some dimensionals. And I'll do the same with the sentiment as well. I absolutely adore the sentiments on that Bloom and Grow stamp set. It's just gorgeous. So again, we'll use this as our guide of where we want to go. So we could make it a little bit lower, we can make it a little bit higher, depending on where we want this to go. That looks beautiful there. And I'm actually going to change this up and do this one flat so that this just really pops out. It's not competing with this sentiment. It's just creating light and shade, depth. And you can see that gorgeous sentiment there. Because I've used the glue, I can just use my grid paper to make sure that this is lined up on both sides. It's really handy for things like sentiments, and because I've used the Tombow glue, I can just do a little bit of a wiggle. And then we'll do the inside, and I'll do it in the basic black, I think, or the Memento. I think it'll just bring in the outside of the card more and just create beautiful. Isn't it interesting that depending on which side of the stamp you use, it can just create, like, it looks like it's no part of this stamp set. It just looks like its own stamp. But remember, you've got all those beautiful other blooms that you could use as well. You don't have to use, I've just used this one here, but you've got all these other ones as well that are gorgeous. These are great on the inside. As I was saying, using a little tiny sentiment. Look at that perfect little hello there. Like, that's the actual size of the stamp. And look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? If you put that just in there, that little hello. And you could probably do like a bigger oval and have, yeah, more showing of the flowers. Nice ribbon in the background. So yeah, this is a really versatile layout that you could do. And I hope that it gives you lots and lots of ideas. If you do make cards based on this layout and this video, please message me, tag me, whatever you can. I'd love to see it. I really love it when people get inspired by something that Bria and I have created, because that's why we do these videos, is to help you to create easier. So there we go. We've just made 2 cards in less than an hour. In fact, it's almost just on 40 minutes. And these are our beautiful cards. Aren't they gorgeous? Oh, and you would just, if you looked at this to start with, you would not realize that this is actually the exact same layout. It's the exact same card pretty much, but it just, everything has changed. Everything is different because of what we've done with the sentiment and the stamp. It's brilliant. So I hope I've inspired you today. If you live in Australia, please, you can shop with us. We would love to have you as our VIP customer. We love looking after our customers. If you're not following us here on YouTube, the button is here somewhere. So please follow us, and please leave a comment or a thumbs up, something to let us know that you're enjoying our videos, so that it keeps us creating and keeps us thinking of new ideas to inspire you. Thank you so much for your support. We love you all very much. Keep sending these beautiful cards to beautiful people. I'll be sending this one to the gorgeous Willow, and comment below, because I am going to pick someone who comments to send this gorgeous card, because you're wonderful. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for supporting us. So I will let you know who I am sending it to. You have a couple of days to leave some comments, and I will pick a deserving winner. Thank you for being here, everyone. Have a wonderful crafty week. We'll see you soon.